Hello guys, welcome back to our podcast. This is BnB Anime with your host, I guess, Blue, and my fabulous co-host.
I hate my life.
That's Brad.
Rebuilding the studio from scratch after unnecessary dick noises has been so terrible.
Okay, yeah, I guess we all want the update on the hearing of the dick noises because of the last episode. You hadn't heard them, you didn't hear about them in the episode, and I spoke about them, and you were all confused, so I want to know.
Yeah, so can confirm there are unnecessary dick noises, and due to, if you didn't catch the update at the end of the last episode, the gods of anime were not pleased with my missing of the unnecessary dick noises. They destroyed the save file after episode 13. They're like, no, screw you. You gotta figure out the answer. And Blue was right. Dick slapping. So much dick slapping. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I just have like a dirtier mind than most, but I was watching that after binging the anime. It was probably like 3 a.m. and that came up on the screen and I just lost it. It was the funniest thing. I was trying to be quiet because there are other people that live in my house and I could not be quiet. I was dead. I was dying. It was a time.
So it was like that clip I sent you earlier of what I sent you on Discord of Rim. Mm-hmm. Like, I was at work and I could not stop laughing. I was laughing my ever-loving ass off over that. That just tickled me so much.
Yeah. So for context to that, Brad sent me a video on Discord earlier today of a fan dub slash edit slash kind of crack video, I guess, of Rem and Subaru, and it's very funny if you wanted to describe it, Brad.
So basically the whole premise of the actual show is Subaru loves Amelia. Mm-hmm. No, this one, Subaru, he has some feelings for a certain cat boy.
Yep. And Rem is not too pleased about that because it's like the scene of her admitting her love to him and he's like, I'm sorry, I can't love you. I love somebody else. And she's like, who do you love? I'm sure it's somebody that's lovely and sweet and kind and but still, like, I support you and I care for you. And then he says who it is and she's just like, of all people. No, this is not happening. You are not allowed to. And then she goes on her murdering spree. It's very funny, and I do recommend that you check it out. If we could, like, what's the name of the video?
I'm not sure. I think it's like ReZero. I love ... It's on YouTube. If you search ReZero abridged, I promise you'll find it.
Yeah, it's ReZero abridged short. I love and then ... because I can't see the full thing.
No, it is just ...
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, that's literally what it is.
Okay, well there you go. That's the name for YouTube, the YouTube video.
But yeah, so the reason we had to cut it in 2 episodes, not because we decided that it needed to be 2 episodes, because that would have carried on for ages. No, unnecessary dick noises just absolutely caused our recording studio to just be absolutely demolished. So yep. I've been rebuilding the studio all this week.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was a struggle, but you know, Brad's very good at choosing paint colors, so it went better than expected.
Very good at choosing paint colors. Blue just sat in the corner in her chair with her lemonade and maple syrup and was just like, get to work, peasant.
I was supervising, okay? It was a great time. You couldn't have done it without me.
No, I could not have. No, absolutely not.
Okay, so I guess we don't have any news this week because it hasn't been that long between this recording and the last recording. But what have you been up to, Brad? Other than building
nothing.
The studio?
Yeah. No. Rebuilding this has been all the work that I've been able to get done this week.
Yeah.
But no, I've had work stuff going on. I had to go back home to Chattanooga to pick up some stuff, and also my bank card got canceled because I tried to buy some cloak stuff at 3 a.m. whenever it dropped, and my bank was like, no, bad, you're not allowed, this is fraudulent. And I shouldn't have gotten a phone call at 3 a.m. whenever I placed this, but no, my security monitoring people were like, hey, so listen, you're trying to buy this stuff at 3 a.m. And I'm like, I purchase from these people at least once a month. My closet of t-shirts is nothing but cloak. I buy from them. Why? Why would you cancel my card and make me have to drive 2.5 hours to get another one? Why?
That's fun. That's so much fun.
I love it so much.
I love banks. They're great. Great fun.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so that's mainly what I've been up to this week. What about you? What have you been up to?
Oh, nothing too special. Lots of work stuff, same as you. Although today I did venture out to Walmart amongst the survivalists that are trying to go out there for all of the supplies that they need. I went to go get some face wash. And the face wash that I got is a new brand that I haven't tried before. And I opened it up and used it when I got home. And it smells exactly like pseudo-creme, which is a moisturizing, soothing cream. It's like it's just like a balm thing that I used to use when I lived in England. So I was probably around 8, and I used to have really severe eczema or eczema if you're American.
Yes, I am familiar. I deal with severe eczema, so yes.
Yeah. So that was the brand that I used to use. Had it all down my legs, and I was just hit with this really, really strong nostalgia wave, and it was just like a transportation back into that period of time of my life, and it was really strong. I was like, whoa. So yeah, I had a full-on blip back to my 8-year-old self. It was a...
I can understand that completely. It's weird how smells can just trigger those receptors in the brain to where it's just like, whoa, I've been taken back.
Yeah.
Sometimes good, sometimes bad. The last time I went to Knoxville with Walker, we were walking around McKay's, which is like our used book, CD, movie, used everything store, basically. And I just got hit of a smell, and I was like, whoa, these are memories I don't want to remember. Go away.
Oh. Yeah, no, I have quite strong... Yeah, scent is probably my biggest memory trigger. Ow, I just hit myself in the headphone and just hit my ear out. That's fun.
Good job. I'm so proud.
I know,
Good
right?
job.
Major talent. But lavender and roses for me smell like England. And fresh rain, obviously. It's England. It's always raining. And then seaweed also smells like England for me. But then this was one,
interesting.
Yeah, but this was one that I wasn't expecting, and because obviously I hadn't tried this face wash before, but and I honestly didn't think to remember the cream that I used on my eczema. That was a really strange connection for me. But yeah, it was super, super strong, and I just remember I was transported directly back into my bedroom. It was in autumn time. Because that's when the rainy season really starts kicking in. It does rain through the summer, but as soon as you hit kind of November, that's when the rain starts coming out properly. And I used to wear wool blend tights to school. And then I would go down the road, which is called Water Lane, very appropriate. Cars would drive by because obviously it was a two-way road, but there were cars parked on both sides of the road, and it was between Tudor buildings. So the road was probably about the size of your average bedroom in width. And then there were cars parked on either side, and then it was a two-way road. So it was really, really small with these towering Tudor buildings on either side. So they couldn't expand the road or whatever because they're all historical buildings. And then of course it was raining, and the puddles would form all along the side of the road, and then these cars would drive by early morning to drop the kids off at school, and you would get splashed. And because I was wearing wool tights, then they would get wet, and then they would get itchy, and then it would just really exacerbate my eczema a lot more. My eczema on my legs has actually gone since moving to Canada because it's so different in climate. But I do get eczema on my hands now, which is actually a different form of eczema due to how dry it is. So that's fun.
See, that's one thing that's been similar to my move to where I'm at now. It's a higher elevation, so it's bothered the eczema on my scalp a lot more because I only get it on my scalp and in my beard.
Interesting.
So that's why I've basically went completely bald versus like at least letting my hair grow out a little bit because it's just so bad since I moved up here. I can't stand it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I used to always get it from the wool tights on my legs, but yeah, I'm glad that that's gone and that I don't have to wear wool tights anymore. That's nice. School uniforms.
You see, thankfully we didn't have to deal with that. We had like a dress code, which was polos and khakis, but that was about it.
Yeah, when I emigrated to Canada, we didn't have any kind of dress code other than just like your shorts have to go past your fingertips and you can't wear a strap that is like 3 fingers wide or something. Like it has to be wider than 3 fingers. And then it's like 4 fingers down from the collarbone for like cleavage. And then like no crop tops. And that was pretty much it for it. And then it was like also, yeah, no t-shirts with like slogans that's like, fuck you or whatever. But like, if you didn't get that one, you're a bit thick.
Like, I don't know what school would allow that.
Yeah. Oh, I have one really stupid story about that. My vice principal used to get so angry about the boys wearing their trousers really low and with their boxes hanging out. So he told all of them that if he spotted 5 more boys that week wearing their trousers around their ankles, he would go out and buy a pair of trousers too big and wear his around, like they would wear theirs. And he was, to paint the picture, he was probably about 45 when I was in school. A larger man, a man on the larger side. Bald with a big bushy beard, and he was a very jolly fellow, but he was not one that you could really push around very much. Like he was pretty solid in his ways, but he was so funny. And he went out and he bought these pineapple banana boxers. And he hitched them up so high that they were like, he tucked his shirt into the boxers and then wore these jeans that were like barely hanging on. They needed a raise and not just like pulling them up, if you know what I mean. And he wore them like that for like a week. And afterwards, none of the boys wore their trousers around their ankles anymore. They all pulled them up, got proper belts on, because they didn't want to be dealing with seeing the vice principal like that anymore. It was a funny time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I love it.
So yeah, I guess we ought to just jump right in, considering we've got no anime news.
The only thing I could think of to actually count as news that I can't remember if I mentioned in the last one or not, but the Konosuba film is coming to Crunchyroll on March 25th.
Ah.
So that'll be something to watch. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. Very much so. I also know that
Konosuba is great. I love it so much.
I do also know that quite a few conventions across the world have also been cancelled or postponed for like anime themed stuff. So, but that's like, there's so many to list there that it's like you can't even. I mean, the big ones, the Tokyo one, the LA one, all of those have been cancelled. But I also think that like most local ones are getting cancelled as well. So.
Yeah, the biggest cancellation that's happened between the last one and this one, like overall wise, is E3 has been canceled. So all of our big game releases and potentially the unveiling of the PlayStation 5 will probably be moved digitally. I think Ubisoft released a statement saying they're going to try to find a way to do it digitally this year, so that way everybody can at least see the presentation. It's just not going to be live in front of the convention center this go around. Yeah,
I also think that there was supposed to be some kind of trailer or at least like a pre-trailer or something for The Sims 5, because that was only recently announced. couple of months ago, and I think that they were going to at least talk about it or do some kind of presentation or something on the early stages of that. But I don't think that's going to happen either. And I think it's so early that they might just not talk about anything according to that now, and just wait for the next launch, because obviously they're not planning on actually launching it until like 2022 or something. So still early days.
No. Knowing EA, you're going to have to pay like $25 just for early access to potentially be able to view that trailer, or you can pay $50 for the season pass.
Yeah,
so that way you get all access to all the trailers. You don't have to go to the conventions, or if you do go to the conventions, you get a 5% discount because it's like paying for Origin access.
Oh yeah, except for the fact that if you want to see the exclusive trailers, you're going to have to pay for a microtransaction.
Oh yeah, it's like $20 per trailer. So best of luck.
Yeah, and then there's a stuff pack that you can also get with it as well, where it's like they can send you home with a nice sticker, and it costs you $50.
We both love Sims. Like we're not hating on them too much.
Too much. Yeah. No, I love the games that they produce. It's just annoying that you have to pay for everything, you know. But anyways,
literally everything.
Yeah, let's dive right into it with episode 14.
Is it 14? I can't remember.
It's 14.
No, it's 14.
It's 14. So let's dive right into it. Back into episode 14. So, quick review of episode 13, which is where we left off of the previous one. The self-proclaimed knight, just basically where Subaru claimed that he was Amelia's knight, insulted the knights, and then had a huge fight and was beat senseless.
Big cringe episode. Big cringe. Be prepared for a lot of cringe. Like, if you feel people's cringe like Blue and I do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm going to admit that I skipped through quite a bit of that episode.
I might have skipped through a little bit watching through the second time on the English dub, but I think the first time through, whenever I watched it subbed in 2016, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. No, I may have pretty much watched about 5 minutes of that episode.
True investigative journalism. That's why that episode was so quick.
I know, right?
You watched just 5 minutes. I mean, granted, you got the gist. However,
got the gist.
Like 5 minutes.
It's so bad. I can't handle it at all. Ugh. That was a time. Anyways, so him and Amelia ended up having a fight. She went off back to the mansion, and he stayed in the capital, supposedly recovering because he used his shadow. I was going to say shadow clone jutsu then. No, he used his shadow magic and spent up too much mana or whatever.
Now, let it be known, side note here, because this will come into play later, Amelia threw her cloak at Subaru during this fight.
Yes, yeah, she did that. And he tried to tell her what was going on, but obviously he can't. So, yeah. And
because of his trauma, he literally freaked out.
Yeah, he's really, 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 traumatized at this point. And she's trying to understand, but she is a bit closed off at this point, just because she, doesn't get it. I mean, in her perspective, they've known each other for, 2 months. In his perspective, they've known each other for, 6 months. And in her perspective, she has done nothing to help him. In his perspective, she literally saved his life. So there is that kind of aspect really in play. You really, really get to see that during episode 13. So yeah, skip the proclamation scene at the beginning, then skip the fight, but watch the end scene, because that emotional fight, although it is really upsetting and emotionally it's got some really important character development in there.
Or skip none of it, because it's very interesting to watch it all play out. It's cringe, but it's a good watch.
Yeah, no, I would like to be able to sit down and watch it, but my finger will not let me and just presses the skip button. And I just hit my headphone again. Ow! Ooh.
We are professional here. We are 100% professional.
Honestly, yeah, so professional. I'm going to go deaf in one ear just from like tapping on my own headphone over and over again.
Take care of your ears. How am I supposed to yell into them while we play Dead by Daylight to scare the ever-living shit out of you? That's not how this works.
Ugh, he's awful at that. He's awful. Okay, so episode 14 is called The Sickness Called Despair. It's basically Subaru has started training the sword with one of the girls' butlers, who is like a master, but you don't really know much about him. You actually met him at the manor because Subaru brought out a cup of tea and they just had like a quick chat. And then one of the other characters, I can't remember who, asked the butler why he liked Subaru, why he was talking to Subaru. It seemed like out of character for him to talk to him. And the butler said, Subaru, those eyes have seen death, or something like that, something along those lines. It was very interesting that he picked up on that, and it makes you want to know more about his character. And at this point, you still don't really know much about him, but you do get to know him later on. Yeah, Subaru is very untrusting at this point. He trusts absolutely no one, except for Rem, and he decides to go back to the manor to find Amelia, which is going against her word again, because obviously the fight from episode 13 started because he went against her word. And yeah, he continues to go against her word in this episode, which is just like you're sitting there and you're yelling at the screen like, Subaru, no. But yeah, he's really, really broken at this point, so you get it. But instead, along the way, they stop at an inn, and when he wakes up in the morning, he discovers that Rem has gone on ahead of him and left him a note basically saying, you need to go back to the capital and recover. Don't worry, I will go find Amelia, make sure that everything's okay, leave it to me. And he goes, nope, I'm gonna go to the manor. So he pays this travelling salesman to take him to the village. And when he gets there, he finds that everyone in the village and in the manor has been slaughtered, and it's very, very gruesome. It's probably one of the most gruesome scenes in the entire anime, I would say. It's really, really well done, but I can't think of anything that's as grotesque as that.
Like, every time he goes back, like, it's definitely one of the most gruesome scenes in this show, if not one of the most gruesome scenes I think I've ever seen in anime, period. Because the people who attacked, like, piled the villagers together and then set them on fire to where you just see piles of ash and bone. Like, it's very jarring, especially, like, even though you know the show is gory, you see that, it's like, whoa, holy shit.
Yeah, and especially because in previous episodes you had really gotten to know some of the village characters, and just knowing that those are the people that are in those piles, like, even though you don't actually see any faces in the piles, you don't see anything that's like any recognizable detail, but you make that connection in your brain, you see that correlation, because you know the villagers, and it's very intense. I also actually, at that point, I really like the way that they depicted Subaru going through the village. It's almost like he completely blocks it out. He just, like, zombify walks to the manor, because his priority, his entire focus up until this point has just been Amelia. And so he sees all of these and he's horrified by them, but he just, like, zones out. He just completely dissociates from everything that's happening and just goes to the manor.
Yeah, because at this point, Subaru is still a little broken. Like, he's not fully broken yet. But he's, like, starting to come unraveled. So, I think he's just disassociated. Like, he is solely driven by Amelia.
Yeah.
And...
yeah, and...
it just...
sorry, go ahead. Jinx. Yeah, no, this is the scene where I think that is, like, the last straw that you get from Subaru to where he fully, like, goes over the edge. And then he stays over the edge for a little while. But yeah, when he gets there, he finds everyone from the village dead, and then he goes to the manor. And when he gets to the manor, he sees Rem's mace on the ground, and then he sees Rem dead, he sees Ram dead, he sees everyone is just, like, strewn about the castle, and then he goes further in and opens the door, and I don't think they actually showed Amelia but it is, you see his face and his reaction, and so you kind of put two and two together and realize that Amelia is among the dead.
This was where, because I think you see her little pin that she got from the little girl in the first episode. Then you see her flower ribbon that she keeps in her hair, and he follows a trail of blood down into the basement. And the thing, and the thing about Amelia and Puck, with Amelia being a spirits art user and Puck being what he is, like he's an ice spirit. So,
and he's quite powerful. Like he's a pretty significant spirit, and you don't really realize how significant until you get into the anime.
And especially right around here, like the hallway that he walks in is covered in like a permafrost thing, to where he walks down, he's cold, but he doesn't necessarily understand until he gets to the door and he puts his hand on the knob, and then he tries to turn it and pulls his hand back, and when he does, his fingers are left on the door. And he tries to take a step back, and then both his legs break off, and then he just freezes to death.
It's an intense episode. It's probably the most, or one of the most intense episodes of the anime, but I would probably classify it as the most intense. The whole time you're watching it, you are just sitting there going, he's got to die, he's got to die, he's got to die, he's got to die, because you want them to go back in time. You don't want it to be the way that it was.
Yeah, this is one of the times in the anime where it's like you need, like, he's got to die because it needs a reset. Like, this can't be how it ends. And there's a few times throughout it, but this is definitely one of the times where it's just like, figure it out.
Yeah, because you want him to reset to before everything. You don't want him to just reset to before he goes to the manor. You want him to reset to before the fight happens. You want him to reset an entire, like, 2 or 3 episodes back. Like, you don't just want him to reset, like, a little bit. You want him to go almost back to the last checkpoint, you know?
Because you never know where the checkpoints are going to reset at. So whenever he resets on this one, he's at Miss Cruchet's house, who's one of the other members of the royal selection. And so he can't redo that fight with Amelia, so he has to make up with her in some shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah. And that's in episode 15. That's when you figure out, almost, there's this moment at the beginning of episode 15, which is called The Outside of Madness. I'm trying to read my own handwriting. There's a moment in episode 15 right at the beginning where he wakes up, and he wakes up at the fruit stand, which is the same fruit stand of the first episode, you know? So it's the very beginning. So there's a moment there where you think, how far did he get reset? And, like, they play it off like that, like he got reset a long ways, for like a good couple minutes, until Rem shows up, and then you realize that he reset after the fight with Amelia. And then Rem had obviously taken him into town. But you didn't see Rem take him into town before this, so that was just kind of like, oh, that just happened during the time that he was training with the butler or something, you know, while he was staying there and trying to take out his aggression. Then she must have taken him into town at some point, but you don't actually watch that. So it is like oh my god, how far did he get reset? Like, does he even know Amelia anymore? Like, how is he just going to be this broken boy who's going to have to re-meet everyone all over again? And that's a feeling. That's a feeling.
See, I don't recall that feeling because it's been almost 4 years since I've initially seen it. So I kind of had an idea of where he was going to reset. But like hearing that from a new person's perspective, I'm like, damn, like that would be jarring.
Yeah, no, it really was. And that's why I actually genuinely really appreciated that scene, because you go through so much in episode 14 and then the beginning of episode 15. If you're taking a break between episodes, like if you're watching it on a weekly basis, you're watching it as it comes out, you're gonna leave off feeling so emotional from episode 14. My stomach just growled, I'm sorry. It's not dinner time yet, okay? I can smell it through the vents, though.
Now that means it's second lunchtime. Come on now.
It's second lunchtime, right? I'll just drink more coffee. It's fine. But then, so you leave off so intensely emotional from episode 14, and then you start again on episode 15, and it just puts you right back in that emotion. So if you are like taking a break between episodes, taking a break between episode 14 and 15, as soon as you start watching episode 15 again, you're going to be transported right back to those emotions from episode 14 and continue from there. And it's really, really, really good, like, way of doing it, so that you can dive right into the anime and go right into your anime zone, into your anime world, and you don't have to kind of like warm up to it and like shake off the day's energy or whatever, because that moment would just put you right back into it. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. So then, so then we kind of get, I don't have like any notes here. This is great. I just, you can tell I'm tired at this point because I literally put Subaru wakes up at fruit stand after the fight and is broken. Everyone dies again and we were introduced to Sloth. Powerful end screen. I'm like, great. I do actually, that powerful end screen did actually transport me back. But, this is, Subaru goes back to the mansion. This time he rushes to get there. He wants to get there really, really fast because he wants to be there before whatever happens. So he rushes to get there, and you get there before the white whale this time. I think the white whale... Oh, I just flicked my finger. The white whale... I'm attacking myself this podcast episode. Jeez. Hasn't been introduced yet. But yeah, he rushes back to the village, to the manor, to get there before everybody. And yeah, this is where you first get introduced to Sloth. I believe he was in the village. Subaru walks through, by the powerful end screen, Subaru walks through the gates of the manor, and he gets... Like, he sees everyone is, like, slaughtered all around him, and he stands there and he falls to his knees and he gets beheaded. And then it's just, the screen is frozen on him getting beheaded, but then snow starts to fall, and it's just him there with his head cut off. The snow's falling, and it just like fades, and it's just his body getting more and more covered in snow, and that's just the end screen. There's no like end card, end credits, no music or anything. It just is that, and that's pretty intense.
So this was the first episode where you also see like how truly powerful Puck is.
Yes,
because it's Puck who did that.
The snow.
Because as Subaru crosses over into the manor's domain, like snow kind of starts to fall, and he's like, "Man, I'm cold," but he doesn't understand why. And I think he also got into a fight with Miss Cruciate in this episode because he was in such a hurry to get back, and he couldn't explain why. He's like, "Hey, the witch's cult is coming." She's like, "I can tell you're not lying, but I have nothing to gain from this."
Oh yeah, and then this is also another moment where you get to see more about the butler. Because he got really angry at one point and tried to sort of like, I won't say attack her because he didn't, but he stood up to get like closer to her. And then the butler kind of stepped in, and that's when you realize that he is, probably, like, you already knew that he was more than he was letting on, but this was a moment where you visually got to see it, and it wasn't just implied, that he is somebody pretty special.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he did have that fight with her, because he was basically saying, we need an army, we need people, you have to help her. And then she was saying, well, why should I have to? Amelia's in different territories. She's got the Lord. She's got all this kind of stuff. Oh, and the really powerful magic Lord also wasn't at the manor at the time. He's like at a conference or something. I don't actually really know what he was doing, but he was visiting some of the other
candidates. Not the other candidates, but I think it was like some like investors or something in the domain.
Yeah, that makes sense. So he wasn't at the manor, because if he was at the manor, then he would have been able to take care of it, because he's the most powerful magician, magic dude in the area. But yeah, he wasn't there. So it was just Ram and Amelia and Elizabeth at the manor, with Puck, obviously, and then the villagers, and because Rem is with Subaru in the capital. But yeah, that's a good point. I can't believe I just didn't write notes for that episode. Thanks, previously.
You were big tired.
I was big tired.
I'm glad memory served on that, because I'm like, wait, fight with Cruciate. Butler dude was like, I can't let you do that. Subaru gets very angry. And yeah, Puck like sends the whole entire world into a permanent blizzard.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that I still get the feeling that Rem went on ahead because she was already dead when that scene, the end credit scene happened. And I don't remember her being killed. I only remember her dead.
No, I think because they took a carriage on the way in. Like, I think they managed to get a carriage and they got attacked by
Right, so was that the white whale scene? Okay, that might have been the white whale scene.
No, that wasn't the white whale scene. The white whale scene, I think,
next episode?
No, I think the next episode is where he finally meets Sloth, and then it's the white whale one is the one that follows.
Okay. Yeah, it's right at the end of episode 16. Okay, so episode 16 this is just me, like, this was probably 4 a.m. I'm just, like, writing notes. I'm just like, just get the gist down, your brain will remember, and now my brain is like, what? What?
This is what happens whenever unnecessary dick slapping noises just destroys your studio and you have to wait another week to record things.
Yeah, it probably also destroyed entries in my notebook. That's what I'm going to go with there. Yeah, I totally wrote detailed notes.
Oh yeah, yeah. It destroyed Blue's notes in the thing.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah. So episode 16 is the greed of a pig, and Subaru is trying to gather an army to help him fight at the manor in 3 days' time because it takes 3 days for him to get to from the reset point for like all of the stuff to go down at the manor, and for him to like actually get there because it's quite a distance between the ways. And so he's going around and he's talking to all of the other candidates. And he goes to this one candidate, Anastasia, I think. And
no, he goes to see Priscilla first.
Yeah, okay. So he goes to see Priscilla and he is begging her to try and get an army for him. And she kind of manipulates him. He's like trying to get information out of her, and yet she basically gets information out of him about brain's gone.
Nope, that's Anastasia. So what had happened was Subaru ends up pissing off Miss Cruchet, and he storms out.
Yeah.
So he goes to see Priscilla to try to get help from her.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, so listen, I'll help you, but you gotta lick my foot because that's all you're good for.
Yeah.
Like, you are to literally lick the ground that I walk on.
Yeah.
And then she boots him in the face.
Yeah.
Like, boots him hard.
Yeah.
Then she's like, you're filth, you're a pig, like, you're even worse than a pig, get the hell out.
Yeah.
So her knight takes him, and her knight
is
like the most chill dude ever. He's like, oh, bro, like, what did you do? Come on. And like hoists him up over his fucking shoulder and just takes him outside. Then he sets him down. He's like, you be careful, but I got to get back in there because otherwise she's going to get real angry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then he's like, and then she might actually order me to kill you. I remember that.
Yep. And so with Subaru feeling down and defeated, he's wandering through town, and then he runs into this adorable little wizard, and then ends up, because of that, like, Anastasia was looking for the little wizard, and she's like, oh, hey, you're Amelia's knight.
Yes.
And so they go to the cafe, they're eating, and the drawn hamburgers in the scene, by the way, holy crap. They look adorable, but delicious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, off topic.
Yeah.
So they sit down, they try to have a meeting, and Subaru is trying to persuade her to help him. And she ends up giving him advice because she figures out that Miss Cruchet's gathering weapons and building an army and everything else.
Yeah, which he had kind of discovered because of the fact that carriages were going to and from her like manor all the time, and one of those carriages contained one of the like top salesmen who's like got his fingers in all of the kind of like merchant pies, I guess. Dude is like head merchant. Like, he controls the merchant's guild pretty much. And so the fact that he was visiting her manor was a bit strange. So he took note of that. And so she ended up getting that information out of him, and then he realized that the entire time he had actually been completely manipulated, and the entire cafe is actually filled up with her people. That was a cool scene.
Oh yeah, because like literally everyone in that cafe, minus Subaru, gets up and files out. And he's just like,
Yeah, he was completely set up from the beginning.
But she does give him like the ability to go get a carriage.
Yes.
So that way he can at least make it back.
Yes. Yeah. So then Rem comes into the cafe, and the carriage, and the two of them are just gonna like have to figure it out when they get there. But he's like, but the point is we're just gonna have to get there and maybe try and get like the villagers out and get everyone from the manor out. I don't know. We've just got to go. So they get into the carriage and they go down the street, and as they're going towards the manor, they run into this like a camp of merchants who have been told that the road ahead is dangerous, so they are camping out there for the night. And they invite Subaru and Rem to join them, but he says, no, like, do you want to come with us? We're all going to go. We can use your like carriages and stuff to transport the village people away. So come with us, and we will go. And they're all like, no, why would we? And then he's like, because, and then throws like a big bag of cash down. I can pay for it. And so the merchant's like, okay, cool, let's go. And they like, get in their carriages and they're going full speed ahead, towards the manor. And then they see like this big tree in front of them, which is, I don't know, like a magical tree, is a tree. And then everything starts to get really foggy. And they're just like riding along. They're going really fast, but they're riding along. It's no big deal. And Subaru and Rem are in one cart, and then there's the salesman that we met previously in one of the other episodes to the left of them, and a new salesman to the right of them. And as they're going, all of a sudden the salesman on the right of them just like vanishes. And they're just like, oh, that's odd. Like, where did he go? And they turn to ask the other salesman, who was on the other side of him, if he saw. And that salesman is just like, what do you mean there was never anybody beside you? Like, who?
He's like, yeah, we're the only carriage that's riding up this far. What are you talking about?
And he's really confused. And so they're just like, okay, that's odd. And then you see this giant being kind of come down and swoop next to them and appear out of the fog. And then you just get this giant eyeball looking at them. And then you realize that it is the white whale. So the white whale is just kind of like a magical being, a magical creature that has been plaguing this world for centuries. And nobody's been able to kill it. Nobody's been able to defeat it. And it just like kills people, just attacks them and kills them. And that's why the salesmen weren't going to go forward, well, because they had heard the stories of the white whale and they were going to wait until morning before they went. But, Subaru persuaded them to go. And then they're trying to fight the white whale. Rem is trying to fight the whale and, ends up basically sacrificing herself to, try and allow them to, go forward. And I think this is kind of when you find out that, Subaru attracts that kind of thing, or did you know about that previously?
You knew because the mob beasts in the forest were attracted to him. But this is where you figure out that the whale is a mob beast, because Subaru is like, why does it keep following us? Like, why is it just us and leaving everyone else alone? And then he realized it. And it was at that point where Rem was like, look, I got this. Pressure point Subaru to knock him out, and then she yeets herself out of the carriage to try to go fight.
And then when he kind of comes to, he is in the back of the salesman's carriage, he was in a separate carriage, but now he's in the back of the salesman's carriage. And he kind of comes to, and he goes to her and he's like, he goes to the salesman. He's like, we have to turn around. We have to go back and get her. We have to go and get her. And the salesman is just like, who? Who are you talking about?
It's like, we've been the only person in this
whole
carriage
time. And he's like, how
time.
could you forget her? She just sacrificed herself. How could you forget her? What's going on? And this dude's like really freaked out now. He's like, what the heck is going on?
and then like Subaru exclaims like, I'm the reason. And so dude was like, oh, well, if that's the case, yeet Subaru off the carriage and was like, I'm going to sacrifice you so I can live.
Yeah. So then,
so Subaru like gets yeeted out of the carriage and then Whale disappears.
Yeah.
And it's just like a bright, clear sky. And Subaru's just like, what? Like, what the fuck just happened? Like nothing here.
Yeah.
Makes
so he
sense.
ends up going to the manor. And he,
I think he just collapses.
Yeah. Well, he collapses.
So I think he makes it back.
The salesman's called Otto, by the way.
Yep. Otto's his name.
Yeah.
So
I wrote that
Subaru
one down.
makes it back to the manor and just absolutely collapses. At this point, he's beat up, he's torn up, and he wakes up in the same bedroom that he's woken up in. So he's like, oh, I'm back.
Yeah.
And sits up and immediately sees Ram, but he thinks it's Rip. He's like, Rip, oh my God. And then he realizes that it's Ram and he's like, oh, and he just breaks down and is crying to Ram and is telling her everything that had happened, what it all went on. And Ram looks at him and is like, who's Rim?
Yeah.
And at that point, like my heart shattered.
Oh, mine too. Yeah,
like
completely.
That just physically hurt so much. Because Subaru's like, how could you forget her? She's your sister. Like, she's the better looking one, the one that can cook, like, the one that still has her demon horde, all this stuff. And she's, Barasu, I think you've lost your mind.
Yeah. And Subaru ends up, like, not talking about anything. He's trying to tell Amelia about his return by death. But he can't talk about it. He can't talk about it. He's getting so frustrated. So he just, at the end, like, after everything, he's so broken. Like, nobody remembers Ram. He's destroyed and distraught. And so he's just like, you know what? Screw it. I don't care if it kills me. I'm just gonna tell Amelia. I need to tell Amelia about my return by death. So he's in the kitchen with her. And he's like, I'm gonna tell you everything. And she's like, okay, you know, it's about time. and so he looks at her and he just goes, I can return by death. Like, I can come back every time, I die, I come back and it's a different checkpoint. And he's talking about it and he's feeling pain, but it's fine. And then he, like, opens his eyes and he looks up at her and she is
just
dead.
Collapses into him. And, like, you just see blood come out because every time that he's talked about it to this point, like, Statella would appear inside of him and grab his heart and, like, make it stop for a second. Well, this time, like, you get the imagery of the shadow hands, like, caressing his heart, but she doesn't actually grab it this time.
No.
And then I think it, like, wiggles a finger or something, like,
Yeah.
And then, like, ripped Amelia's heart out of her chest.
Yeah. So then Beatrice, the librarian, ends up banishing him from the mansion.
This is where Subaru meets Betelgeuse.
Yes, I was trying to read that. I obviously just, in, like, late night brain, wrote down the name, and I'm like, what are those letters? Like,
it's like, but it's also, like, spelled really weird. Like, if I didn't know it was pronounced Betelgeuse, I'd have been like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Betelgeuse, Ravanikanti, or Sloth in this case.
Yes.
Because all of apparently the witch is surrounded by henchmen of the
sins.
the seven deadly sins. And Sloth looks at Subaru and he's like, could you perhaps be Pride? Like, you've brought me the silver-haired half-devil, but like, you've done the ordeal for us. We don't know what the ordeal is at this point, but he's just like, oh, you've brought her to me and she's dead. So she wasn't meant to be it. Yeah. And then Puck shows up.
Yeah. And I also believe that, the white whale is greed? Question mark?
Maybe. Like, I know that the white whale is I think the white whale is gluttony.
Gluttony. Okay.
And so this is where Puck shows up, and Puck like absolutely decimates all the rest of the fingers, which are what Betelgeuse calls all of them.
But you also see that Subaru is able, this is the first time you're able to see that Subaru is able to see Betelgeuse's unseen hand. Mm-hmm. And then, you don't know who it is, but you just, this person shows up and stops him. And it's at the beginning of episode 18 that you get to see that it is Puck. So episode 18 is called From Zero, and we blended in episode 16 and 17. Episode 16 ends with the run into the white whale. Episode 17 starts with the fight with the white whale, where Rem sacrifices herself. So, and that episode 17 is called Disgrace in the Extreme. So episode 18, it's Puck.
And so Puck wrecks absolutely everyone, and then like transforms, or Betelgeuse like uses the unseen hand and like just clamps down on Puck, and Betelgeuse is like, "Oh, you're the one who's truly slothful. You weren't prepared for this." And then Puck breaks it, transforms into a like absolutely massive beast that you saw in the shadowy background whenever Subaru froze to death and was beheaded in the snowy exit to that episode. And like just slams his paw down on Betelgeuse and crushes him. And so like Puck is like, "This is your fault. You've done all this, Subaru, and now I'm going to destroy the world because you killed my daughter." And it was at that point, it's like, oh, so Puck is the spirit of one of Amelia's parents. And
Puck and Subaru do kind of have a heart-to-heart here, because Subaru, like Puck basically says to Subaru, you were good, you loved her, I know you did, but she is dead because of you. So it is like there isn't a level of understanding. He's not angry necessarily at Subaru, he's just angry at the situation, and Amelia is dead, obviously. And
so did you catch the hint at the end of this of where Subaru could be taken over by Betelgeuse at the end of this episode?
I didn't.
Because Subaru has like a internal monologue, like as he is being frozen to death, like you just see the ice slowly like just come over him, and he's like, "I was truly slothful." And then like you just see his mouth like twitch up into a smile. And at that point, because I didn't notice that the first time through, but watching it the second time, I was like, "Oh, fuck." Like, how did I not notice that the first time going through?
I didn't. See, this is definitely one of those animes that I recommend that you watch multiple times if you can. Obviously, everyone has an anime list that's a mile long, so if I understand. But like,
watching it through a second time gives you a much better appreciation for the show. And if you watch it through in English, watch it in Japanese. If you watch it through in Japanese, watch it through in English. Like, both of them are so good. Like, it's absolutely wonderful. But so that's a little bit you catch at the end of that, and then it's just like, oh, okay.
So then obviously Subaru respawns, and there's this big emotional heart-to-heart between Rem and Subaru in episode 18. Subaru basically goes up to Rem and is just like, "Let's just run away. We'll just leave it all behind. You and I will just pick up and we'll go. We'll go start a new life together. We can leave this all behind. We can just forget it." And Rem basically says no, because he is not him, but she loves him. So she says, "Who you are right now isn't the Subaru that I fell in love with, but thank you for asking, because that is basically my dream, is for us to run away and go get married, and I've thought about it many times, and we'd struggle, and it'd be a bit rough because you're not really educated in this world, but we'd figure it out, and we'd have 2 kids, and it's kind of like an emotional scene, and you can see that Subaru is starting to kind of put the pieces together that he is really not right. He's I guess it's basically like her saying to him that the person that you are now is not the person that I fell in love with, is basically like his moment to be like, okay, I need to change something. He just says, I love Amelia, and then asks for Rem's help to save Amelia. And I just wrote, insensitive prick in my notes.
Oh, like this whole, like through the whole scene of Rem going through, like, you know, we could have 2 kids and all this, like I'm tearing up. And then
Me too. I'm like, screw Amelia, get with Rem.
And then Subaru's just like, is this really what you want? And then he's like, but I gotta say one thing. And Rem's like, yes. And he's like, I love Amelia. Like I bawled at that point. I was like, you fucking bastard. Like, I was so upset. Like, like that whole scene, like I was crying, and then that happened, and I was like, oh, how could you? Like,
I know. I mean, I get that you can't choose your feelings, but the way that he just, I mean, yes, it's good to just put it out there. Like, if somebody's got feelings for you and you just don't have feelings in return, you need to just say it. But, dude, did you have to say it like that?
Oh yeah, like don't just be like, I don't feel the same way. Don't just blatantly, hey, I love Amelia. By the way, I need your help to save her.
Yeah.
Like, and even Rem was like, do you understand what you're asking of me? Yeah. And I'm tearing up right now just thinking about it. Oh my God. Like, and that, like, us talking about it does not do it justice. Please.
No.
Please watch this. I have never in my entire... Blue and I are the same in that we've both spent over 2 months of our lives, like collectively, like total hours watched equal over 2 months.
Yeah.
I have never, and I watch a lot of slice of life, like rom-com or even just romantic animes. I have never seen a confession that just like hit me so hard. Like this was just true perfection in a confession. Like it's like, I want this kind of love in my life. And it just immediately gets ripped. Like, oh.
Yeah. No, it was genuinely on par with, like, Kids on the Slope confession.
I think it's better than Kids on the Slope, honestly, in my opinion. Like, 100%.
The thing that completely fascinates me about it, and the thing that I think they did so well, was that you see Rem... when she's talking to him, you see her putting the puzzle pieces together in Subaru's brain to snap him out of the trauma. Like, you see her talking and you see just his face. You can just see it in him that he's figuring it out, you know? Her words are what is making him able to function again, able to handle what's happened and what is going to happen. You see that her impact is so important in his life. Her words are so important in his life that she is the only one who is able to heal him in that way. And I know that's not how it works in real life, but in anime that's how it works. And she is the person that was able to do that for him. And for him to just respond, I still love Amelia, but can you help me? Was just oof.
And I think, like, because he sort of alludes to it later on, I think that Subaru does love Rem. Like, there's a part of him that loves Rem to death.
Well, he called her his number 2.
Yeah, like because I think there's a point where Miss Crucier was saying something to him. He's like, if I didn't already have like
1 and 2.
Yeah, like the number 1 and 2s in my heart, like I think you were gunning for that spot. And it was just, like it's so good. Please watch the show, watch this confession. Oh, I can't say enough about it. It's so fucking
I genuinely
good.
think that this entire show, like even if you're not a big fan of isekais, I know that they kind of have a bad rep. But if you're not like a fan of this kind of anime style, if you like more emotional stuff, if you like more less actiony stuff, if you're not big into fantasy, I would recommend watching this anime purely for episode 18 and episode 14, because those are 2 to me that just take you to next level through emotion. They were done so well emotionally. The writing is just fantastic.
Oh yeah, 100%. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah. So then episode 19 is Battle Against the White Whale. So Subaru basically manages to persuade lots of people to help him fight the white whale. He does this by going to, I can never remember her name, Green Girl.
Well, first, like, and you find this out during this conversation, but first, like, off screen, Subaru went to go see Anastasia, and the dude who's over the Merchants Guild, whose name I will never remember because it's only mentioned like twice beforehand, is like, hey, like, I'll give you guys like mining rights and some magical gems that's in Amelia's domain.
Yeah.
And so they're like, sure, whatever, I'm in, because Anastasia literally cares about nothing but money.
Yeah.
Like, I could see, like, a future plot point, like, her being greed.
Yeah, I agree.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, Subaru goes to Green Girl. I can't remember her name.
Miss Cruchet?
Miss Cruchet. Subaru goes to Miss Cruchet with Rem, and basically he sits down and he starts a negotiation. Basically saying, I need to borrow your army for the next couple of days, and we're going to go fight the white whale. This is when you see her butler kind of prick up, like, wait, what? What are you going to go do? What are you doing? And you're like, oh, so he's got some kind of connection to the white whale. And then you see them talking about negotiations. You see that it's going okay, but she's asking a lot of questions, like what she's going to gain from this. And he's like, oh, well, you can have some mining rights. And she's like, well, you know, what am I going to do with mining rights? And then that's when the store merchant leader and what's her name?
Anastasia?
Anastasia. I'm so bad with names. Anastasia and the Merchant Guild guy come into the room, they sit down, and they join in the debate on Subaru's side because, like Brad said, off screen, they had had previous conversations and negotiations. And they're basically saying that she is buying up a load of weapons right now, so he kind of put two and two together that she's putting together a team or an army to go and face the white whale, because what other reason would she have for putting together an army when all of the world is kind of at peace right now? So he's like, okay, well, she's probably most likely going to go face the white whale. So he's like, so we can help you. And so he's going to get some of the other armies from Anastasia and put it together so that she has like double the men. And then Subaru can give her the information of exactly when and where the white whale is going to appear, because obviously he lived through it a couple of deaths ago. So yeah, a couple of deaths ago, that's an expression. So makes negotiations all go well. And then at the end of the negotiations, you see the butler going up to Subaru and, basically saying, thank you for, letting me join on this. Thank you for allowing me to do this. My wife was killed, by the white whale, who was the previous swords master. And it's like, and then I think there's a moment in there, because like, greenhead girl, I tried to remember her name, it's not happening. She can tell if somebody's lying or not just by like her aura, her, like, I don't know, she's vibe check. And
Vibe check.
Vibe check.
But yeah, she has the divine aura of protection on whether somebody is lying or not. And whenever, why can I not remember his name? Butler dude was like
Wilhelm.
Wilhelm. He was like, so I thank you for giving me the opportunity to avenge my wife. Yes. And Subaru's like, nah, I knew that the whole time. Yeah. That was all part of my plan. Mm-hmm. And then Miss Cruchet was like, Subaru Natsuki, the wind of untruth blows around you. And you just immediately see his face deflate. Yeah. And then cuts to the next scene of them prepping for battle. It was so good.
It was really, really good. So then episode 20 is Wilhelm von Asteria. Mm-hmm.
Estrella.
There we go. That's how you say it. And we learn more about Wilhelm and his wife. So there's a lot of flashbacks to the past in this. You see them as, I'd assume, teenagers, maybe young 20-year-olds. I don't know, it's anime, it's hard to tell. And
young adults.
Yeah, young adults. And you see him practicing the sword and her just loving flowers. And he just goes to this ruin. And he's just practicing the sword out there, and then one day he stumbles across her being there, and she's just looking at the flowers, and they start talking, and she asks him why he wields the sword, and he says, so I can protect the ones that I love. And then you see them kind of get closer, and he's still an angry person. You can see that he's kind of angry during this whole time. He's putting up the front of protection, but you can see that there's something more there.
He's a very brooding individual,
yeah.
But you slowly see him kind of soften up with each flashback.
Her. Yeah. And she's just there loving flowers. And then I'm not sure the flashback's broken up throughout the episode, so I'm kind of remembering it all in one chunk, but it is broken up throughout. But basically, the rest of the flashback continues, and he says that he has joined the Knights, and that he is going to go be a knight, and she congratulates him. And then further on in the flashback, I think that was a segment. The first was a segment, that was a segment, and then later on, you see him discovering that she is the swords master. And him being really angry, being like, you have no right to wield the sword, or da-da-da-da. And he actually goes to attack her, but she quickly, stops him. And that's when you can really see, a difference in their level. And he, basically says you have no right to wield the sword. And you can see that she's kind of, hurt by it, but she just walks away. And as she's walking into the distance, you hear her say, you're not the only one that has, that wants to protect someone. Or you're not, basically you're not the only one that has someone to protect.
Yeah, because, the entire theme of the flashbacks, at the end of each flashback, she would ask him, why do you wield a sword? And he's like, to protect people. Mm-hmm. And so he asked her on that one, he's like, why do you wield it? Why do you wield a sword? Mm-hmm. And that's whenever she gives that answer. Yeah.
And she's also always asking him if he likes flowers. And he says no. Every time. So there is more to that, the flashbacks do continue, but, this is where the armies are all preparing for, the attack on the white whale. They're all out in the field. They start actually attacking it. The whale comes, and Subaru is kind of leading it to where it needs to go because it's attracted to him and everything. And they're trying to penetrate its skin, but its skin is really tough and it's doing really hard. They actually fire this massive thing in it that they were hoping would down it, because it's flying. And they fire all of these giant shots towards it, and they're hoping that it would put it on the ground. And then when it doesn't, they then realize that they're in for a really pretty tough fight. So basically in the final shot of the episode, you see that the... You good?
I'm fine.
In the final shot of the episode, you see that the mist clears, because it's all surrounded by mist. You see that all clears, and then it pans up, and you see 3 of them, and that's when the episode ends. So then, with what episode was that? That was episode 20. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I thought I went from episode 19 to 21 and just didn't write episode notes on 20. I was but I did. It was that episode.
Big brain, no sleep.
Big brain. Okay, so then you start seeing more flashbacks with Wilhelm. You start seeing there's a really, really sweet flashback where his wife, who is the Sourcemaster, has obviously been called to action again. She has to go out and fight something, and she's getting honored. And so they're in a big room, a big courtroom, I don't know, a big ballroom.
Like a castle hall where people get knighted. Like shit like that.
Yeah. And then you see this like masked dude challenge her to a fight. And he wins, which is very shocking. And then she removes his mask and it's Wilhelm. And it's like he spent that entire time from her walking off into the distance where you clearly saw that he was so far behind in her level up until that point so he could challenge her. So that then he was like, I've beaten you, so now you have to kind of provide me with one like wish or something.
Well, he's like, you no longer have a reason to wield that sword.
Yeah. And so he basically sent China because she, up until that point, like she doesn't want to wield the sword. Like you can see that she doesn't want to be the sword fighter that she is, but she has to because there's no one of her ability, and she wants to protect people, and because of that, she wields the sword. But like you can tell that it's not like her passion to wield a sword. She's just the sword chose her, as they say. And so, yeah, he ends up defeating her, and then she's able to retire from wielding the sword. But then you learn through conversation, not through flashback, that she had been the only one that was able. She was still considered the swordsmaster despite the fact that he beat her at that one time. So they went and like called her up when the white whale started like attacking people dramatically, and so she went to go and deal with it, and was then killed by the white whale. But anyway, the fight continues. Everyone is attacking the white whale. You've got the two little wizards, because you find out that the really cute little wizard actually has a really cute little brother. And yeah, so they're like attacking. You also meet a couple of different characters. You also get to introduce to some more magical beings, because you have like the creatures that draw the carriages, and then you find out that from Anastasia's crew, they actually use like big dogs. So it's like you end up seeing like more magical creatures, which is cool. I always like being introduced to those. And it gives you some more like perspective of the world and the variety within the world. And yeah, so they're all attacking. They cut off like the fin, they cut off, they stab out an eye. Wilhelm like stabs out an eye, all that kind of stuff. I actually think that happened in the previous episode. And then they end up discovering that the two other whales aren't actually they're not actually like separate whales. They are projections created by the white whale so that it can protect itself. But like by projections, I mean like it is still like an actual thing that can kill. Like you can like hold on to it. It's just not a living being. It's just like a shadow clone jutsu.
And also Wilhelm gets nommed.
Yes, he does get nommed. And so then they end up figuring out that Subaru ends up figuring out that the top whale, the whale that is like flying the highest of the three, is the one that is the actual like the body, the soul that is creating the other two. And so they need to go and attack that one. But I don't actually really remember how they did it.
So Subaru goes up to Miss Crusade. He's like, hey, I figured it out. The one at the top is the real one.
Yeah.
And the other two are fake.
Yes.
So he's like, I have an idea. And she's like, you're big stupid for wanting to do this.
Yeah.
But you know what? You go right on ahead.
Yeah.
You're a bigger man than I thought.
Yeah.
And so Rem makes a giant ice crystal.
Right.
And Subaru gets on it and she flings it up into the air.
Yeah.
And everybody thought Rem was just going to take it out because I guess nobody noticed Subaru get on the gigantic icicle.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, it missed.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? And then you just see Subaru standing up on the horn and he's taunting it. He's like, hey, everybody finds me really annoying and you have to deal with me right here. Yeah. And then yeets himself off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then uses the shout for return by death thingy. So he gets like shrouded in the scent to where the whale is like, ooh, nom time, and just goes after him.
Yeah. Yeah, so it is the scent of the witch's magic that is what attracts all of those magical beings. Because I think they're actually her creation.
Yeah, the whale is her creation.
Yeah.
The maw beasts that spawn in the forest outside of the Roswell Manor, I think those are just natural. Like, that's a breeding ground for them. But the whale is her creation. So that's why I kind of think that the whale is gluttony, I think.
Yes.
Like, I think Betelgeuse even
refers to it as
gluttony.
I actually had in my notes that it was gluttony.
Cool.
Yeah, and there is actually a moment during this fight that I actually really enjoyed. It's where Subaru is just, like, running off, being a nutcase, and he has, like, literally no special abilities other than his shadow magic that he can't really use because it, like, drains all of his ability and, like, it's not very good. Like, almost Mega Man, like, style. Like, it destroys him to use it.
Yeah, like, he could use it once, and then he can't do shit.
Yeah. So he's, like, running around crazy. And all of the other, like, soldiers and everything, they've given up. They've kind of resigned themselves to death by the white whale. They're just like, that's it. We're all gonna die. And then... green-haired girl, I can't remember her name. I got the other ones down, but her, nope, it's not sticking. It's not there. Oh god, brain.
Miss Cruchet.
Miss Cruchet. I'm never gonna get that. She has this big speech moment of just being like, look at that idiot. If he is our weakest man here, and he is still fighting, and he is still going out there, and he's still putting himself in danger. What the frick are you all doing, lying there on your sorry asses, just letting him handle it? And he is our weakest man. And she just insults him for like 5 minutes. But yeah, it gets all of the troops rallied up, and it was a really cool moment. It was a good speech. I like that bit. It was funny as well, because the whole time she's just like, calling him a weak, pathetic man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time. But anyway, yeah. So while they are, Subaru's kind of distracting the white whale, all the troops are now rallied. They're all going to attack the white whale. Wilhelm, is kind of attacking it from the inside. Right? Because then, he's
fighting his way out. And then once they get the whale, like, they finally get the whale knocked to the ground. Yeah. And then Rem kicks the shit out of it. Yeah. The two adorable little wizards also blast it at the same time. Yeah. And that gives Wilhelm the ability to finally cut through the outside of the skin and, like, get himself out. Everybody's like, he's alive!
Yeah, it's a cool moment. Then they all... They all promise to remain friends. This is where green-haired lady Crochet.
Yep.
Aha! Success. Okay. She has a conversation with Subaru. This is where she has a conversation with Subaru where she's like, you're pretty cool, and if I weren't interested in, like, work and, like, didn't have a career going, I would be interested in you. And then he also goes, if I didn't have a 1 and 2, then you would definitely be up there. And it's kind of like this really mutual thing of them both being like, you're a cool person, and if this were a different life, I would be interested, but, you know, it's just not right for us. And it's a cool moment of just, like, mutual appreciation.
It's like, we're going to let you think we're going to turn this into a harem anime, but we're not.
Yeah. And it's just a really cool moment. I enjoyed that a lot. She also states to him that even if you become my enemy, I will have the respect of you for this battle. Like, yeah, I will still consider you my friend, even if you become my enemy. It's a cool moment. I liked that.
Yeah, It is. It's a really cool moment.
Yeah. And now, everyone basically promises that they're going to help him with the witches fight, except they're going to take some of the injured back, so they are kind of running a bit short on men. But...
Also, TLDR, they kill the whale. Like, we kind of skipped over the fine print of whale is dead.
Oh yeah, whale is dead. They win.
Wilhelm slices that bitch down, and then they crush it with the tree.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, they crush it with the tree. Yeah, the giant tree that we were talking about earlier, like forever ago. Yeah, that... It's
like a giant magical tree that's been there for centuries.
And they're just like, we don't need this anymore.
So long ago planted it, and they're like, yeah. And apparently, like, it is a, like, capital felony to even, like, carve your initials into this. Yeah. Because I think Subaru was making a joke to Rem. He's like, Rem, give me a chisel. Like, I want to carve our names into this. She's like, Subaru, don't joke about that.
Yeah. And then they end up destroying the entire tree and squishing the whale underneath. And it's like a...
But made a big squish.
Yeah, made a big squish. So yeah, whale is big dead. because it was already dead before they squished it, and then they squished it, so it's extra dead. Yeah, so then they end up getting reinforcements, and their reinforcements just so happen to be the dude that beat Subaru to a freaking pulp in their fight. And
it's Julius.
It's Julius. We love him. Yay.
Oh yeah, absolutely love him.
And yeah, so at this point you're just sitting there and you're just like, I wish that you had just been transported like a couple of hours back more in time. But yeah, no, like he actually did live through that fight, and I can't believe that's still part of his history. But like you're just like, forget that. Just go back to a respawn point before that. Like we don't need that in your history. But it remained. It remained.
And like Subaru the entire time, because they all get together and they have like a little campfire thing of where they're sitting around and they come up with a plan, and then they take off on their ride.
Yeah.
And along their ride, like Subaru is just like, I appreciate you coming along for this,
but I hate you.
I hate you. Like, I hate you with every fiber of my being. I appreciate you and I respect you. And like Julius was just like, I'm greatly sorry for what I did. And Subaru said like, I still hate you.
But he's like, he's sorry, but he doesn't regret it because he thinks that Subaru needed it. But yeah, there is a moment where Julius first comes up to them, like if the camp first arrives, and he just asks Subaru how he's doing, and Subaru's like, oh yeah, my injuries are completely healed, like blah, 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 blah. And then Julius was like, I was just talking about the fact that you just like were in battle with the white whale. I wasn't referring to and it was so cringe. It was so cringe. Okay. But yeah, just had to throw that in there because, you know, I'm always going to pick up on those cringe moments. Yes.
So, in other words, Blue was like 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds.
Yeah, I did skip a little bit of that. Not even gonna lie. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's like, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, for those who don't know. Huge Harry Potter fan. I have it memorized, like the moments that I can and cannot watch in Harry Potter. Frickin' Goblet of Fire is the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. There, like the bit where Harry asks Cho out the top of the tower. Nope. The bit where Harry smiles at Cho and spills the water out of his mouth. Nope. There are so many parts, and I'm just like, I know exactly where I'm skipping to. Sometimes I, like when I'm binge watching the entire series, I will skip that movie just because how bad it is. Can't handle it.
I'm gonna just yeet
this one doesn't exist.
Film out of existence, like out of my brain. Just yeet. And here's the thing: Goblet of Fire is one of my favorite films out of the bunch. So good, but I'm gonna just take this one.
It's gone. It's just Order of the Phoenix. That's where I go to, just straight there. Okay, it's so bad. But yeah, so episode 22 is A Flash of Sloth. So the team progressed on, so they're going through, they know this fight's gonna happen, and then they end up just like killing Sloth, and it's super easy, and they're just like, okay. And so they're all like hanging around, they're having a good time, they're chatting as their party and everything, and they're just like, yay, we did it, that's cool. And they were about to check in with all their other teams that were supposed to be going around and helping with the witches thing, and because they kind of like interrupted him in the forest, because that's where Sloth and all of his fingers and the goons and stuff are hanging out, is there, and they're in this clearing, and because they've intercepted them before they could get to the village and the manor, because they're there a couple days early. They kill Sloth, and it's super easy. And just as they thought that it was all wrapped up and clear and they could just brush it away and their hands on it, another Sloth attacks. And now they're like freaking out because they don't know how many Sloths there are. One thing that's hilarious is like some of the party members are like animal hybrids. One of the animals was a sloth. Did you notice that?
I did not.
There's a sloth among the party. And Sloth kills the sloth.
That's great. I don't know how I missed that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I was just sitting there and I was just like, is that a sloth?
Somebody did that as a joke.
I was like, I feel animator. I feel you. I'm with you. Like I caught on.
I'm gonna have to go back and
Baby
watch this
giggle.
now, just because again, like
Yep.
I don't need the studio to get destroyed again. I just rebuilt it. I promise,
God,
anime
yeah.
gods. I'll watch it. I'll find out if it's real or not. Just don't.
I'll find out. Yeah, but this is another reason why I recommend watching this anime so many times, is that there's so many little things like that in it, just these little hidden jokes, like, and little moments that foreshadow for like things to come, that you don't get to see, or like if you don't know what's going to happen, then you can't see the foreshadowing. You know, it's really, really well done. But yeah, they're basically freaking out because they don't know how many sloths there are there, and they don't know, like, what's going on. And Subaru also, like, runs off into the forest for a bit because he's trying to, like, figure it out and draw them with him. And Julius's we figure out that Julius is also a spirit user, and he's got a little red spirit dude who ends up going and like watching over Subaru while he's like running off in the forest doing Subaru things, and then like they end up saving him and helping him. So then that's pretty much episode 22. It's just fight scenes and them discovering that there's more than one sloth and trying to figure out how to handle it. And then episode 23 is Nefarious Sloth. And so they're like, okay, we've got to get all of these fingers. All of these fingers may possibly be sloths. There may be like countless sloths. We don't know how many they are. We've just got to go on a murder spree. So they manage to kill all of the sloths, basically. More fight scenes. And they're going into the villages. They're trying to protect everyone in the village. Amelia actually got to use some magic. You actually got to see Amelia being a little bit cool, because for a long time throughout this point, it's just been like, protect Amelia, protect Amelia, protect Amelia, and you're not actually getting to see her be a badass. And it's like, okay, well, she's like actually like a really good magic user. Like, I want to see her be a badass, you know? And she got a little moment in this episode, which was nice. But then, so they kill all of the sloths and all of the different fingers, and there's a party moment, and then Subaru's like, oh, I don't feel so good. And so he kind of steps away from the party a bit. And then him and Julius and, what's his name?
Felix? The man
Felix,
cat?
thank you. The man cat.
That you legit think is a woman until they're like,
oh yeah,
no, he's a man. And at that time, like,
yeah.
Felix was like gnawing on Subaru's ear, like just that like adorable little nibble.
Oh, yeah.
Which if you didn't know, like,
yeah.
Felix was a man, you'd just be like, oh, that's adorable. And then like you find out, it's like, oh god, get away.
Yeah. It's pretty funny when you figure out that Felix is
because
a man.
Felix is
but, like,
dressed
also,
like a girl, like wears a dress the entire time, and is even voice acted, like has a female voice actress, where it's just like, oh,
yeah.
that's great.
Honestly,
so
like
good.
if they hadn't mentioned it, you would go through the whole thing thinking that he's a woman. But yeah, so he's away with Julius and Felix, and they're kind of like, he's not feeling so good, and they're trying to like talk about plans and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, Subaru, his head tilts to the side and his smirk goes all funny, and he starts talking like sloth. Dun dun dun. And so Julius is like, what's going on? Subaru, fight it. You need to, like, figure it out. And they're kind of panicking. They don't know what to do. And then you hear Subaru's voice come through, just being like, just kill me. Like, you have to end it. And then Julius is like, no, we're not gonna kill you. What are you talking about? We're not gonna kill you. And then, Felix ends up killing him. I think.
Felix like,
right?
uses like his power to like stun him. So that way, Betelgeuse can't get away. And so, like, because Subaru, since Julius wasn't going to do it, he's like, Felix, please, you have to. And at that point, like, Julius and Felix are both just tearing up. Like, they're like, no, like, we do not want to do this. And at this point, I'm not going to lie, I'm crying again. Because I'm like, you see, like, Subaru and Julius, like,
begging,
just having this really, like, it's not a sweet moment, but it is a sweet moment in a sense of Julius.
Yeah, they're kind of getting over some of their stuff. Like, they're breaking some boundaries down at this point, and they've had a couple, like, I think them being in combat together and like killing all of the other fingers and everything gave them an appreciation for each other that they didn't previously have, and gave Julius an appreciation for Subaru's talents, because up until this point, Julius has just thought he's just some like full of himself dude. Like he doesn't have, like he's not a fighter, he doesn't have any, and then he just goes and proclaims himself as Amelia's knight, like he's not qualified. But them being in combat together made Julius realize that Subaru is actually really talented at, like managing people and knowing about the situation and all of that kind of stuff. And he obviously does have this gift that allows him to see the future, but Julius doesn't know that. So he just assumes that Subaru is like really good at reading the situation, you know?
And so Felix stuns him to where he can't move, and Julius is just like, I'm sorry, and cuts him down. Like, I'm crying. Like, it's so good.
Yeah. It is definitely a powerful moment. But you just rely on the fact that he's just going to respawn, you know?
Oh, yeah, but he also doesn't know, like, where he's going to have to respawn. Like, I think it mentioned something about, like, I'm going to have to fight the whale again. But then I think, and that's where the episode ends. Yeah. So if you're watching that week to week, you're like, oh my God, what?
Yeah, because like he could be back at the fruit stand and have to go and find everyone again. He could, because like that was the last checkpoint, was the fruit stand. So he would have to get everyone back on board again. He would have to go through all of the negotiations again. He would have to get the team together again. He would have to go out to find the white whale. He would have to fight the white whale. He would have to kill the white whale. He would then have to go through killing all of the fingers. He then doesn't know how to stop himself from also becoming Sloth again, because it's already happened. So he doesn't know his preparation for anymore. So it's like he could have to do all of that again. It's pretty intense.
And I think another reason why I might have cried at this point, so this harkens back to in the first episode how we talked about they have a tendency to forego like OPs and the ending credits.
Yes.
For like these reasons. And they switched OPs and EDs halfway through the season. Yeah. And the ending theme was just playing in the background of this moment. And it's just very like solemn, and you can tell it's more of a ballad of a song, and it just like it hits you in the feels. Like the way this show does its music and everything is just perfectly placed. Like I think all of the reviews that you read on My Anime Planet, like everybody rates the music in a 9 or above, because it just everything fits. There's nothing out of place. And it's so good.
It is. It's genuinely really, really good. So then episode 24 is The Self-Proclaimed Knight and the Greatest Knight. This is where you find out where Subaru resets. And he happens to reset in the woods just after the killing of the white whale. So luckily he had another checkpoint, which was after the killing of the white whale. So you can kind of assume, if you think of this as a video game, the white whale was like a boss level, and he's now starting again for like another boss level. So it's like he has to defeat one kind of boss per level for him to get past the checkpoint. And you can kind of see that all along, because like in the first one, the fruit stand, it was the lady who was trying to steal who was trying to buy Amelia's
pennant insignia.
Yeah, insignia. And then for the second one, it is the mana
had to
killing.
Not die.
Yeah, it's the mana killing. And then the third one would be the white whale, I guess.
And here's the thing about that, like in the general span of time that the show takes place, I don't think it takes any longer than 2 weeks.
No.
Like it's 25 episodes, so therefore you spent 6 months of your life watching this show.
Yeah.
And it literally takes place over 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think. I'm trying to do some calculations. It's probably a week per boss. So probably 4 weeks. Because like it's a week at the manor.
No, it's not a week, because he's there for a day and he's asleep for 2, so that makes 3.
Oh, it feels like months. I think I've said multiple times throughout this. It's like 6 months, but it feels like it's over such a long period of time.
Like it's going ham this entire time. Like the anime does not stop. He's at the manor for 4 days. The 4th day is where the maw beast attack happens.
Yeah.
And that's where all of that happens. And
then it's 3 days after that,
they go to the capital. They're at the Capitol. The
We
fight
don't
happens.
know how long they're at the Capitol for, though, after the manor and before the reset point, because, like, all through the time when Amelia is supposed to... Because they're there for a couple of days with Amelia.
Yeah, so it's 2 days because they're there the first day and they're just kind of scouting around. And I think Subaru wants to go talk to Reinhardt about something. Mm-hmm. And then the second day is where the Royal Selection calling happens.
Yeah.
And then Subaru gets his shit kicked out of him.
And then it's 3 days to the White Whale.
Yeah, because then they...
Although technically it's probably only 1 or 2 days because they get there early.
Yeah, so they get there early. So it takes place in about 2 to 3 weeks. And it's just, like, it goes ham.
Yeah, it really
Holy
does.
Shit, it goes ham.
Feels like it's over such a long period of time. And the one thing that's really interesting about this is that it is like a repetitive anime in the sense that he is going back to a respawn point. But nothing is the same. And it's always different. Like, you know what's going to come up, you know what's going to happen, but it is different every single time. And the way that they manage to do that...
it every time. Like,
exactly.
Every time it's so different to the point where, like, you can see Subaru, like, puts the pieces together slowly to where by the time you get to this point in the anime, like, he is, like... They mention throughout the whole show, like, every dealing that he has with Betelgeuse, he asks him, like, are you Pride?
Yeah.
Like, are you the Archbishop of Pride? And you truly see that at this point. Yeah. Like, Subaru is full of nothing but pride throughout the show.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Subaru resets in the woods and then tells them... So they're all, like, sitting around a campfire, basically, talking about what they're going to do next about the fingers and about Sloth. And Subaru then starts making a new plan with them. And then at the end of the plan, he says, just like Sloth can go into his fingers, I think he can also go into me as well. So then it's like, and then also at this point, like, nobody else can see the hands, like, Sloth has this ability of, the unseen hands, I think it's just called, where it's just like these big black, like, shadows, basically. That
and they can, like, reach, like, an immeasurable distance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, like, they are incredibly powerful. Like, they rip through trees. Like, they, like, tear people to shreds. Like, they, like, you do not fuck with these hands.
Yeah. Yeah. I would kind of consider them to be made of pure energy rather than, like, anything substantial, because they do, like, come and go and disappear and fade out and stuff like that. So yeah, kind of like hands made of energy. Mana, I guess. Same thing. Subaru can see them, and I think it's pretty clear that the reason why Subaru can see them is because he's connected to the witch, and Sloth is, with his gospel, his, like, Bible, I guess, is trying to be the best disciple of the witch, and is in love with her, and thinks that if he does all of these things for her, then they will be able to be together. And so he's basically like, but he is not the person that you see. He is possessing, I guess, the person that you see. So the person that you see is just like a body, and he's inside the body. And then this is kind of where you figure out that the multiple sloths aren't really multiple sloths. It's one sloth that is then repossessing bodies. Or I guess you kind of figured that out when it went into Subaru at the end of the last one, but it's kind of stated now. So then Julius is, like, trying to fight Sloth to kill him and whatnot, but obviously he can't see the hands, so then he uses one of his spirits to kind of possess Subaru, and give them a connection between each other, and they have a connection of all senses, so yeah, sight, see, sound, touch, and smell. Is that right? Sight,
yes, like,
see,
he can
sound,
see, like,
touch.
through all of, like, yeah, sight, smell, sound.
I said sight, see, sound. I was like, that's not right. It's smell. I forgot smell. No, taste. I forgot taste.
Yep, taste, feeling, all of it. Yep.
I can't even remember my senses.
We know our science here on our anime podcast.
Well, yeah, I guess you could just say that I don't have any sense.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So then, Julius is fighting Sloth through Subaru's eyes. And then episode 25 is called That's All This Story Is About. And the fight with Sloth using Subaru's eyes continues. So they are basically, they're not really sharing a body because they're both in their own separate bodies, but they're sharing all of their feelings. And yeah, they're fighting Sloth using the big old handsies, and you really get to see like Julius go all out and see how talented of a knight he is, and that's pretty cool to see. So then they end up killing Sloth, or at least they think they do. But when Subaru goes to catch up with Amelia, because, so they try and kill Sloth, all of this, like, rocks and stuff fall down on him, and they're like, high five, we did it, bro, get out of my body, and it's kind of funny. So then, they go back to the village, and they're like, all of the villagers have been evacuated. Oh yeah, previously when I said that Amelia got a moment to shine, it's because the village was super, super prejudiced about her, and they were like, oh no, she's a silver-haired elf, half-elf creature, which is what the identity of the witch is supposed to look like. So they were kind of like assuming her ability and like personality and stuff based on the fact that she looked like the witch. And she was trying to like get them all out and get them to safety, but they wouldn't listen. So then within this kind of life, Subaru made it seem like she was the one who was like helping out all of the villagers. He kind of set it up like she doesn't know that he's around. She still thinks that he's at the capital. And he set it up to where the kids would go with her, and she was helping them get out. And and in the previous life, you got to see her use her ice powers and be kind of badass and protect some of the villagers, and it was really cool. But unfortunately, that life didn't last because, of course, Sloth then went into Subaru. But yeah. Back to now, Subaru thinks that they've killed Sloth. He and Julius goes back to the village to help them all, and then Subaru realizes that there were some explosives in her like cart, and he knows that her and all of the kids are in her cart together, and he's like, oh shoot, we've got to get those explosives out of her cart. So he books it to her car. He's like riding on one of the dogs, I think. I don't know. I can't remember what he's...
No, he hopped in a cart with Otto.
Right. Yes, thank you.
Because Otto got caught.
Oh, yeah.
Because they thought... Because for some reason, Otto was in the area in this life. They never explained why. But so Otto was in the area, and they have him tied up. But he's like, hey, I can take you wherever you need to go as long as you buy all this stuff. But Subaru's like, okay, fine, whatever. Because apparently Otto's ground dragons were like super quick. And Otto also has the divine protection of like being able to see through all of the animals and everything. Yes. So he knows the quickest route to get to Amelia. Yeah. So they yeet through the forest. Like they are taking shortcuts. They're destroying bridges.
They're jumping off cliffs.
Going off. Like basically vertical. Yeah. Like that drop is so steep, it's vertical.
Yeah. And Subaru had also, when they killed Sloth, Subaru actually grabbed his gospel and pocketed it. So they had like run into Amelia's cart to get those explosives out of there. So Subaru like jumps into her, as they're running, then Sloth kind of like picks up again, and you see him like flying on his hand, and he's like trying to attack them, and Subaru's like trying to deal with Sloth, but of course Sloth's attracted to him because he smells like the witch and he's got his gospel now, and Sloth wants his gospel back. So he can like trace him because he smells like the witch, but and he's like following him, and so he's like trying to like fend him off while Otto is like going through the forest, and Subaru's like, don't look back, and Otto's like, what's back there? And Subaru's like, don't look back, and Otto's like, but now I'm curious, I want to look back, and he's like, don't look back. It's funny. So then Subaru gets to Amelia's cart, he grabs the explosives and jumps out. Oh, but between this point, Amelia was like holding on to the children. She's like, it's okay. And the children are like, no, we can't show that we're scared. We can't show that we're scared. And she's like, why? Why can't you show that you're scared? And they're like, because Subaru made us promise that we would protect you. And then they're like, oh shoot, we weren't supposed to tell you that. And so now Amelia knows that Subaru is involved. So then she sees him just like yeet himself onto her cart, pick up some floorboards and like pull this sack out from the floorboards and then just yeet away. And she's just like, huh? And so then she's like, Subaru! And she wants to go after him, but he is just on this ground dragon. He's just like going off into distance, and Sloth is like behind him, like, and they have like a fight scene. The car gets on fire. There's like multiple things like that. And I don't really know how it happens.
So this is before Subaru and Amelia meet up. Like they are about to leave the forest.
Right. Yeah.
And so whenever Sloth got crushed, he uses the unseen hand to turn himself into this like giant fucking man spider thing. Like really disgusting. And he is about to catch up to him, and Otto's cart is full of a bunch of oil.
Yes.
So Subaru like throws all the pots on him and like
lights him on fire.
douses him in oil.
Yeah.
And Subaru's still covered in, or he still has like Julius's flame spirit with him.
The little red dude.
And so he throws the gospel at Betelgeuse to get him to stop.
He writes something on it, doesn't he?
I think he might write his own name in the thing, because at this point he's never told Sloth what his actual name is. And so he writes his name into the book, and he's like, your death is right here. Throws it, and so Sloth reaches out to grabs it. Subaru uses the flame spirit to set him on fire, and because of that, Sloth gets his hand caught up in the wheel of the cart and gets
sucked
smooshed.
under. Yeah, gets smushed. That was a really cool scene. I will say that the oil didn't just come out of nowhere. That is kind of a running gag throughout the anime for a couple of episodes now, because that's the reason why Otto keeps popping up everywhere, is because he's a merchant that is trying to sell this oil that he bought way too much of, and all of the other merchants are laughing at him because why would he buy oil, like that much oil? So that's the reason why all the oil is in his cart, like it was pre-set up. And so then Subaru catches up with Amelia. He gets the explosives out of her cart, and you see him run to the tree that had crushed the white whale, because now they're like out in the clearing again, out from the forest. And you see him like run towards the tree, and you see Amelia kind of stop her cart, and she's like looking out there and watching him, and he's just booking it into this tree. And like she doesn't know what's in the bag, she just knows there's a bag. And then he goes there and he throws it into the tree, and then there's a huge explosion. And then you don't really see anything. And then you just see Amelia just like running into the rubble from everything that's happened from the explosion. And you don't know if, oh shoot, this is gonna, like, it's gonna end, like the series is gonna end on a respawn. Like, you're like, we don't know what's gonna happen. And then you see her like run up to him, and she's holding him, and Amelia, she runs up to him, and he confesses his love, and that's in the cart. He grabs the explosives and then says, I love you, and then hops out and runs away. So he confesses his love in the 3 seconds that he's in the cart. So he carries the explosives off. He is injured in the explosion, but Amelia helps him because she's a healer. She's not super powerful, but she's like decent at healing, so she helps him. And then there's a really cute ending scene where they're both sitting on a hill, and I think he gets another lap pillow.
Oh yeah, because whenever the explosion goes off, like his ground dragon, Patricia, shields him for the most part, but he gets knocked unconscious. He gets
it's
banged
like
up.
How to Train Your Dragon, kind of.
Yeah.
With Hiccup. Yeah.
And so he wakes up, and he's still deaf, and he can't really see. So it's like his senses slowly come back to him, and he's like, wait, judging by Amelia's voice, judging the softness under my head.
Yeah, he says this a lot loud.
Yeah, he's like, oh no. he realizes lap pillow. The lap pillow is the one running occurrence throughout this entire show.
It's funny.
Like,
it's funny.
I think he's gotten to use just about all of the main supporting characters as a lap pillow.
Yeah.
He's got to use Puck, got to use Rem, got to use Felix, and now he gets to use Amelia for like the third or fourth time.
Yeah.
And so just he gets his own confession scene since Rem got hers out earlier in the show. And she's like, I don't know what I've done to deserve any of this. Like, why? And she like goes off about all this stuff about her. Like, I'm a half elf. I'm a silver-haired half elf. I can speak.
Yeah.
And he's just like, and he just lists off this whole bunch of stuff that he loves about her. And he's like, I don't care like how many things you come up with. I'll give you like 200-fold of whatever you say. And he's like, you don't need to give me an answer right now. But he's like, I know what your answer is going to be anyway.
Yeah. And it's really cute, but also kind of assuming. But yeah,
real assuming. Very assuming.
But again, that's also where you get that hint of him being pride, because like he's like, okay. But yeah, it's really cute, and it is a sweet little scene. And it's a sweet scene in the fact that you can see that genuinely wants to build her up as a person, because she's obviously very insecure and very like beaten down from all of the people just being like, you are like half elf, like nobody wants you around. And he then takes that time to just be like, no, like you are important, you're special, and I love you. And it's a really cute little scene.
Oh yeah, absolutely cute. And that's how the show ends. Like it ends on that.
Ends on that.
So even though the second season got delayed until July, at this point, I am so excited. Like I am beyond.
I'm also excited.
Excited for this. Oh, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I'm genuinely really excited. I need to learn more about the candidates. Like that is the big thing that I want to learn more about is the dragon situation, about the Lord, whatever his name is, who's supposed to be the most powerful magician. He wants to kill the dragon. And then you've also got the witch, who we haven't met at this point. We don't even really know what she looks like. We can assume that she looks like Amelia, but like we don't know.
Well, you get like little like tiny glimpses throughout the show. But the first real glimpse you see of her is in one of the key visuals for the second season. And I sent you both of those. So that's kind of one of the talking points that I'd come up with to talk about at the end of the actual review. So the first one I've come up with is Subaru was summoned to that world by the witch. Yes. And he's constantly being referred to as Pride. Yes. So I'm curious as to how that's going to come into play later on in the show. Yeah.
And I'm actually curious about that as well. I'm curious about the Seven Sins. I'm curious about whether or not Sloth is actually dead, or if they're going to if she's going to make another one. Because to me, it seems like she's collecting sins. And if she's lost one, I feel like she would bring it back. I don't know.
Technically, she's lost two because she lost the whale. And then she lost Betelgeuse as well. So it's more or less almost like a hunt for sins, in a sense. If they decide to kind of take it that route. And we already kind of, or like I said, I have a theory about greed with it being Anastasia. But also, another thing, if you look at one of the key visuals I sent you, and to everybody listening at home, you can pull up the key visuals online. But it's and this is for the second season, but it's Amelia looking like she's looking behind herself in a scornful manner at Subaru. Yeah. And Subaru's still in his tracksuit holding his bag of goodies. And not only that, but at the start of the episode, she even calls herself Satella to just a random stranger who she's never met that has been trying to help her this entire time. Yeah. So I'm also kind of curious, how is that going to come into play?
Okay. Theory. Puck and Satella are her parents. And she's not half human. Like she's a quarter human and half spirit and then a quarter elf.
That very well could be possible. And also I want Puck's backstory as well, because we realize that Puck is one of Amelia's parents. So it's not exactly explained who it is. And then Beatrice, the Lolly librarian, is Puck's sister. So I kind of want
Yes.
more background on all of this because they just give you enough to like get you invested in the characters and then they
Yeah.
leave it. So you could definitely tell they kind of left it
Yeah.
for a second season.
Yeah, there's a lot that you don't know about. And just the idea that, I mean, if Cecilia, if the witch, like, why would she give him the ability to go back in time but set the checkpoints to kill her other minions?
It might be random in a sense, or she could be testing him. Because it could be like
That's
a
what
setup
I think
of,
that,
you know, like using Amelia as the vessel for her to come in and then
Yeah.
Subaru being like her, you know, I guess husband, like a
yeah,
setup.
because he's so in love with her.
So it very well could turn into
Yeah.
that kind of
So
situation.
it could be like, well,
which I think would be cool.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I would
does that
be
mean that-
down for that being a plot point at some point, just to like really see everything.
I agree. Well, if they're going to continue on the emotional trauma of Subaru, then making him kill Amelia, who has been possessed by the witch, sounds like a good
Either
trauma.
that or she becomes possessed and he has to decide whether to kill her or kill himself because he won't know. Because throughout the show,
If he's
like,
gonna have
he
another
keeps saying,
checkpoint.
like, I don't know if I'll get another checkpoint because of this. So he
Yeah.
never knows. Like, every time he does it, he's taking a risk.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't know. I think that there's genuinely so much that they could do with it, and there's so many holes in the story that need to be filled. There's just so many questions that it's almost hard to form ideas because there's no grounding for those ideas.
There's just so much that is yet to be explored. So I'm really excited to see kind of where they're going to go and where they're going to take it.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. So what would you say were your favorite parts of the construction of the anime?
So the world building is fascinating because it starts off seeming
Agreed.
like it's going to be very generic. And then very quickly,
Yeah.
it like shows you that it's not going to be. Like with the
Yes.
situation with the ruler trying to select a new one with all the different royal candidates with the dragon, who they've left very little
Yeah.
about. So there's still
Yeah.
a whole lot to go on. The magical beings seem like they're treated as equals. So that's really cool because typically you see some sort of, you know, contention between them. So
Yeah.
that's awesome to see. And also, like, you get little allusions to, like, whenever Rem was having her confession, they had talked about running away to the land that Anastasia's from. So I want to
Yes.
kind of see the different areas in the lands that, yeah, like
Road
a road
trip.
trip, like visit all these different areas
Yeah.
to kind of expand on
Yeah.
the world a little bit. They left just enough to make you really curious because it is a little generic, but they built up enough to get you enticed into everything.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Just the dynamic of the abilities of the witch that is kept a secret is fascinating. Because like she's controlling everything, but yet for an entire season you know nothing about her. It's fascinating. It's like not many stories could pull that off.
Absolutely. And
She's like puppeteering everything. It's
and
insane.
it's like it's her handprints all over it, but at the same time it's not. Everything feels natural and it's fluid, even though it's literally it's all just based around Subaru. Like, because every time he resets,
Yes.
like nobody has any residual effects. Even Puck and Beatrice, who are spirits and like very, very powerful spirits, remember nothing. Although then again, Beatrice might. Like, she kind of gives like hints throughout it, but it's never like fully explained. So that's kind of why I want more background on Beatrice.
I do as well, because I never really got the idea as to whether or not she didn't remember or if she did, and she never states either way. So, and if she does remember, why did she not say, I remember?
I mean, I think it's just because Subaru annoys the ever-loving hell out of her.
Yeah, but she also has a soft spot for him. Like, he annoys her, but like you can see that she does kind of appreciate him.
It's really interesting. And if you want like a little bit of extra dynamic between the two, Crunchyroll has a show that's coming out this season called Isekai Quartet. And so it literally follows all the characters from ReZero, Konosuba, Overlord, and Tonya the Evil. And so like they all get transported into like a modern day high school and they all have to go to school. So you get to see interactions between all of them, and you get to see like little bitty like character moments between them that I'm not sure if it'll be canon or not. I really hope so, because it's just really cute little interactions, and everybody keeps their personalities, voice actors, the whole 9 yards. So it's really cool, fun. And I really hope that there's some sort of continuity there. But
yeah.
So, but there's a lot that they can kind of go off with that relationship with Beatrice and whatnot. Now, here's my last talking point I have for you. Okay. Who is Best Girl, and why is it Rem?
Yeah, it's Rem. It's Rem. Yeah, that is one thing that I will say about the anime, is that while, like, during the whole segment of the White Whale, beforehand, like, pretty much as soon as Emilia goes back to the manor, from then to the very end, within the last, like, 3 episodes, you'd forget about Emilia.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like then you forget about Rem. Like, as soon as the situation with the White Whale is over with, like, Subaru tells her to go back to the capital with Miss Crochet because she's like, you're injured. You need to go back, have Felix heal you or get healed at the capital, because Felix comes with him. So they're just like, no, you go back. You're exhausted. I can handle everything. And then she's not mentioned again. I'm like, oh, I'm so saddened by this. Like, Rem goes from being like a very minor role supporting character to main character, and then yeeted completely from existence.
Yeah. Well, and Emilia does as well, because she is main character. Then when Rem becomes main character, she gets yeeted. And then when Rem gets yeeted again, Emilia comes back. But even then, not as intensely as other characters, because then Julius kind of fills the perspective of, like, supporting role.
And then, but also I think a lot of that has to do, again, with the grand scheme of things. No time passed from the time that Rem left.
Yeah, he fell in love quick.
But I mean, like, Rem left, and then all that shit happened with Betelgeuse, the final battle, and it. Same day. And yet it took 4 episodes to do that. Like, it just goes by so quick to where for us it feels like a fucking lifetime, but for them, no time has passed.
Yeah, no, because they go to see the White Whale, they fight the White Whale, they go to fight Sloth, they fight Sloth, they defeat Sloth, Subaru goes to find Emilia, Subaru explodes the tree, Subaru confesses love, all on the same day.
Like, episodes 18 through 25 take place in a 24-hour time span.
Yeah.
Like, that is nuts. That is unreal.
Yeah.
Because so much happens. Like, you even get a death in between.
Yeah.
And all that takes place in 24 hours. Like, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
It's intense. It's genuinely very, very intense, and it doesn't feel like it takes place over a couple of weeks. It feels like it takes place over like 6 months.
Yeah, like it just it feels like it takes forever.
Yeah, but it doesn't like get boring in that. It doesn't feel like, oh my god, this is taking forever. It feels like so much has happened that it surely can't have happened in one day.
Yeah, because there are other shows. Like, you can tell the director of the show previously worked on The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't, no. But,
so, it has that trope of Groundhog Day, like things get repeated. Mm-hmm. But here's where, and I love The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. It is a really good anime. It is a very smart anime. Mm-hmm. And yet, whenever it repeats itself, whenever it has its Groundhog Day moments, like, it is literally the same episode repeated. I shit you not.
Really?
The same episode gets repeated for 8 fucking episodes.
Dude.
8 of them. Like, I believe it's called The Hateful Eight or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, but it is the smallest, most minute of details that gets changed every time. And yet, on this one, like, so you can kind of see the similarities, like, if you realize that he directed both of them. And it hit me whenever I did the research for this episode to look into the director. I was like, oh my god, like, it's a reoccurring theme.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
But this one did it so much better to where every time he died and reset, he learned something. He gained something from it.
Yeah.
To where the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, it's just like, the main character is oblivious to this. Like, he relives the same day over and over again, never clicks what's going on until like the last one. And it's like something that he barely notices, it like just a really odd sense of deja vu.
Weird. Okay, so.
Sorry,
no, go
tangent.
Ahead.
Had to be done.
But I was just going to ask, do you think that you are going to pick up the manga or light novel and give yourself a read?
If the light novel is translated, I will 100% do it. I know the manga is translated because it's on Manga Rock. Mm-hmm. So I'll definitely give it a look. The light novel, I didn't see anywhere that it was translated. So I don't know if I'll actually be able to do that until I learn Japanese, and not only learn Japanese, but learn to read Japanese. Unless that
good luck with the 10,000 kanji.
Like the bullshit meme that I sent you about like the contact lenses that'll be able to like subtitle stuff. Oh my God, if that is true, I would buy all of the light novels. I would have them shipped over here.
Oh yeah, if that's true, then I'm going to start practicing kanji.
You wouldn't even have to practice. You would just get automatic subtitles.
Yeah, I'm like, that's good. I'm good with that. I just learned to speak it. Like I wouldn't need to read it now. But yeah, I definitely feel like I want to grab hold of the light novel. I will see if I can find it when I'm out in Japan. I'll see if I can get my handsies on it. Hopefully by then I can read a little bit more of Japanese that I can do now. We'll see. I'm working
just
on those kanji.
Just remind me to send you a bunch of money so you can like bring me back statues and everything.
Yeah, I will. I'm allowed 2 free suitcases on my flight, so 1 suitcase is going empty. So yeah,
all of the souvenirs.
I'm gonna get gachapon for days.
But
yeah, I definitely think that I will try and get my hands on the light novel. And I think that probably with season 2, you're gonna be more likely to see English translations of the light novel, because obviously it's going to only increase in popularity if it's anything like the well-writtenness. Fantastic grammar of this episode. I definitely think of this season, we're definitely going to see a pickup in views of this anime, because it's really, really well done. I do think that it takes the poor reputation of an isekai and does well with it. So yeah, pleased with it.
Oh yeah, 100%. So how would you rate this anime? Like overall, what would you rate it?
From my binge watching of this anime in 48 hours. I would probably give this anime, like an 8 out of 10. I think it's really, yeah, I think it's really, really good. I do think that, I don't know. I think maybe it was just part of the thing that I watched it in 48 hours and watched it so quickly. I think the writing is so good. And I'm really, like, if it was I'm sure the light novel is fantastic. I'd probably give that like a 10 out of 10. I don't know. But there are bits in it, like the cringe, that I just cannot handle. I
was like, that's gonna dock points. Yeah, the unnecessary dick noises.
Unnecessary cringe. And sometimes Subaru is super annoying in the fact that you're just like, pick it up. Like, what are you thinking? Like, how do you not notice this? Yeah, so those are the 2 points I'm gonna deduct from. What about you?
So typically, I'm not even one to give half points, but this time I'm going to break my rule even further.
Oh.
I give it a 9.8.
Oh.
Like the fact that he was like a little bit slow on picking things up.
Yeah.
It does bother me a little bit,
just
but at the same time, like this dude died.
Yes.
Like, and he fully experiences that trauma and remembers that trauma. Like this dude can remember and feel every single time that he died.
Yeah, I really think that they did the trauma well.
Yeah, so I'll give it a pass on that, and just like I can't give it a 10 because it's not 100% perfect
because of Rem.
But yes, because of Rem. My God, if Rem and Subaru had ran away together and all of that, solid 10 out of 10. I wouldn't watch another anime. My heart would be fulfilled. Everything would be done. I could die a happy son bitch.
Yeah, actually.
Sorry, the Southern came out in me for a second.
That's all right. I think it would be. I think they could have, if they wanted to have, obviously they wanted more episodes, they wanted to extend it, this was not the story, but like, it would have been very, very interesting if Rem had just said, okay, and then they had just like ran off together, and then you just see them like setting up their lives, and then the anime ends. And it's like, you don't know what happened to Amelia, you don't know. And you just see him like recovering from his trauma slowly over the years, and they just accept the fact that and like Rem let her sister die and like all of that, and it's just like, they just go off and live their own life. It would be a very interesting and shocking ending.
No. So here's an idea. Episode 18 should have been that. Like, they go through all about that. Subaru dies and
dies of old age, and then respawns.
Then resets.
Yeah.
Right at that point.
I actually thought that might happen. Like, I thought that while I was watching it. I was like, yeah. He's going to die of old age, and then they're going to reset.
Yeah, like, if they had given me that, I would have been so happy.
That would have been intense. Yeah.
Like, that would have broken my ever-loving heart. But my God, that would have been so good.
Yeah.
But, yeah, 9.8. Like, I absolutely adore everything about it. Obviously, I've said before, it's in my top 3 anime of all time. Like, it is so beautiful, so well done. But we'll find out in the next episode what gets a solid 10 out of 10 from me.
Oh, yeah. The coming up next for our next episode is Brad's favorite anime of all time, one that he nearly shot me because I hadn't seen before. And so he sat me down and made me watch it. And I cried like a little baby the entire way through.
To be fair, Blue did the same with me with Kids on the Slope.
I did.
So we're even.
We are even.
But yeah, so next episode is Your Lie in April.
Yes.
I am so excited to talk about it. I'm more excited than I was about this episode because, Your Lie in April, so good. I'm so excited to talk about it. Yeah. I can't wait. So be ready for next week because it's going to be so good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, Brad is for sure going to be taking the lead on the episode telling when it comes to Your Lie in April because I'm just going to...
I get to step out of the supporting role.
You are not in the supporting role.
It's like getting out of the friend zone, but instead of the friend zone, I'm out of the supporting role. I get to be the lead. I get to be the main character for once. Look at me, Mom. Aren't you proud?
Hey, I'm the one with colorful hair. That makes me the main character. Duh.
Or it just makes you like the side supporting character.
Oh, yeah, because now
who has like super crazy hair, but like no powers.
Yeah, now I don't even have that crazy of hair anymore.
I don't know. Your hair's crazier than mine. I think I need to just leave Uncle Sherman. You know what? You're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? You're right, though. But I should dye it pink. That way I could...
A pink beard?
That way I could get super amazing powers. I've dyed my actual hair pink before, back whenever I actually had hair.
Yeah.
So I think it's time to dye the pink.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's time I leave Uncle Sherman in the past and dye my beard pink and become the best Brad that I can be.
Yeah. Become the anime protagonist of your dreams.
Exactly. And then get ridiculed by society for the rest of my life.
Yep. Well, why not?
It's my lifelong
it's
dream.
Your life.
Let me
Life's
live
too
it.
short not to have fun hair.
Exactly. If only I had hair.
Well, you got face hair. I can't have that.
I don't know, though. We've seen you with a beard. I've seen that photo.
Yeah, but it wasn't real. I want real facial hair.
Look, you temporarily had a fake beard, so you are on my level. So you know what? You're right. I bow down. You are officially the goddess. You are Kami-sama. I am sorry. You're the main character. Let me just slip back into my side supporting role where I belong. Gomenasai.
Leaving you on that is where we're gonna end things today. I am your goddess. Bow down to me. I am your ruler. Oh god, this is gonna go to my head.
Like it's not already big enough already.
Rude.
Just kidding. I promise. I don't think that all of the time.
just 99% of the time. But yeah, that is where we're going to end it for today, guys. So thank you guys so much for listening. We do very much appreciate it. We do have an Instagram and a Twitter. So if you would like to follow us on there, it is at BnB Anime for both, where we will post updates about the new episode releases, about what we're doing in our day-to-day lives. And Brad is also an artist, so you can go check out some of his incredible work over on the Instagram. But yeah, I
You
think
can
that's...
follow the goddess on Twitch
Oh.
at twitch.tv/Blue Lavender. You can also follow her on Twitter and Instagram at Blue Lavender STM. And you can also follow her adorable pup,
Yeah.
Tilly, at
The best Tilly Bean.
I've lost it. The best
Tilly
Tilly
Bean.
Bean. That's right. I was going to go for that. And I was like, it's probably wrong. But also, the secret cactus Instagram popped in my head. I was like, the adorable Tilly Bean. And I was like, nope, that's Prickles.
So yeah, Brad runs an Instagram purely of cactus pics. It's a fun time. It is at the adorable prick, which is hilarious. So if you want to go and laugh at some cacti pictures, drop him a follow. He's also at Brad Carter Gaming on both Instagram and Twitch, so you can find him under those. And I think that is the end of the plugging. Yeah.
Yeah, that wraps up everything. So thank you all so much for listening. I about said watching. This is not a stream. There is no video to this. But yeah, thank you all for listening. I greatly appreciate it. And we will see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.